Oh yeah, you're not coming through for me if you're.
Oh, so Slobs basically has it captured, so I can't do Discord and that at the same time. So on the video, it will be there,
Got
but
you.
you just have to kind of stare into nothingness and pretend I'm there, kind of like I'm staring into my teleprompter, which is just in Eve background.
All good.
Okay,
We will make it work.
let me get the questions up. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. We have yet another CSM20 interview. Today we have Mick Fightmaster that is going to be coming for Wormhole Representative. And once again, I am doing this for two reasons. One, to give the CSM platform so they can speak and get their voice heard. And two, for my communities, both Eve Rookies and Warm Life, to be able to choose representatives to put on the ballots. I am not doing that. It is my community managers and team leaders. So, let's go ahead and get into it. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit how you got into Eve and who you fly with. And
Awesome. Yeah, we'll do. So first off, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This was, I think, my first interview that I did last year, and so I wanted to make it the first one that I did this year.
awesome.
Um, so thank you for having me again. I'm Mick Fightmaster. I currently fly with no vacancies. We are a C5 with a 5 static group in wormhole space. Um, I started out Eve, funnily enough, as a result of a buddy of mine saying like, "Hey, do you want to like hang out in my dorm or whatever back in college?" And I saw him playing this game. I was like, "Yo, what's that?" And I saw a Manicore cloak, and he was flying a Manicore. I was like, "That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want to be able to do that." And here I am, 16 years later. uh, I started out as a high sec mission runner, flying with my friend who is out that way and his brother. Then one day, after like a year and a half of high sec mission running, we decided, you know what? Let's try nullsec randomly. So we joined a nullsec alliance that just happened to be close to Caldari space. Flew out that way. Was involved in the original like IT Alliance war down in Fountain, which was a really cool experience. Alarm clocking for the first time ever. And then once wormholes came out, I pretty much just dove right into that. I was like, this is cool. I want to try this out. So my friends and I, who were in the Nullsec Corp, we decided to start a wormhole group, and I've pretty much been there ever since. I've been lucky enough to have folks who run alliances out in K-Space to like offer me to come along on alts, so I can still get like that experience. But I don't like being involved in any of the block warfare stuff, so I do mostly medium small gang, so like Rogue Capel, Deepwater Hooligans. I was in Pinecone Squad for a little bit, out in Pureblind. So yeah, it's been a really fun time.
Awesome. So you ran for CSM last year and you were elected on. Is your platform any different this year than it's last year now that you've had a year seeing behind the curtain, so to speak?
Yeah, getting a peek behind the curtains. Wow, how much value that has, honestly. I would say it's the same but different. There's still some things that aren't addressed yet that I think would be really good opportunities to introduce into wormhole space. So I want to like focus on the success that we had that first year, where we really did improve things like UI UX enhancements, bug fixes, quality of life changes. Build off that and start introducing new things that can actually drive content within wormhole space. We really lack that gap between small skirmishes and brawls to like full on evictions, and it'd be cool to have some kind of middle ground that would enable daily content, or at least more regular content that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, we're going to take all of your stuff.
Okay, so of course, you know that I've become the CEO of Warm Life this year. What,
Congratulations.
thank you, was not on my 2025 bingo card. That was a surprise to me as it was everyone else. But what are you planning to do, or what do you want to do with low class wormholes?
Yeah, so I will tell you this. Right now, I'm just like I was last year. Like I don't want to be focused necessarily on the difference between low class and high class. I want it to be kind of wormholes in general. I think that there should be opportunities that exist in low class that benefit smaller groups or people who prefer to live that type of play style, and also benefits to living in high class that benefit the people who want to play that type of lifestyle. So there should be like advantages and drawbacks to both.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's an opportunity for all classes of space to get, especially when it comes to these medium conflict drivers. I think, or content generators even, they should exist for all the way from C1s to C6s. Like I don't think that there should be a cutoff at any point.
Okay. So, do you have a specific platform for this year?
So new content's the first and foremost. Actually, that's not true. I have to. I'm legally obligated to say that my first and foremost priority is to get more bookmarks. That's the biggest thing from last year. That was a very high priority. The 500 bookmark limit in folders, as well as the 3 folder limit, is very taxing and not conducive to content generation. So I would
Mm-hmm.
like to focus on fixing that first. And then if we can also have new things for people to do in Wormhole space, there's been a lot of really good feedback in Wormhole UN, which is a result of me getting on CSM last year, where I've been getting a lot of feedback on things like J hubs, which was a Mark idea from CSM 17 or 18. There was the J hub granary, which is like a rateable granary. These things. There's the secondary static generator or additional static generator if you're someone who lived in a C2 or C4. Like all of these ideas have been really cool to like have information on and talk about. But then in our meetings, I've also been giving people who host these ideas opportunity to present them. Then I can take that directly to CCP. I think that'd be some really cool stuff to see in there.
Awesome.
Um, and then lastly, like just player retention, right? And I think we talked about this last year too.
Yep.
There's not a lot of support
Mm.
when it comes to new player retention, especially if you decide that wormholes are the place for you.
Yep.
And so finding a way to bridge that gap would be great.
That sounds really good. So, speaking of player retention, my platform this year is basically getting people to undock. My FanFest presentation was all about content and challenging people to get out of the station, try content, even if it's content that they don't regularly do, and just do something and even instead of spinning ships. So these next sets of questions kind of lends itself towards that. What do you think one of the biggest barriers to new players and docking is?
Um, Probably a few things, honestly. First off, Eve's overwhelming. There's a lot you could do. There's a lot going on. So I think one of the barriers can be like almost analysis paralysis. Like, oh, I'm gonna talk. What am I gonna do? I could do anything. Like, what? I don't know. What am I gonna pick? And then just kind of like not being sure what to do. I think is a big barrier. And then to that, like the unknown, like
Yeah.
when you want, like everything, everything when you're docked. You're like, ah, here's my item hanger, my ship hanger, got all my nice little implants here, and everything's nice and cozy. And then you undock all of a sudden, oh, oh, everything that I'm sitting in is now.
Hold on, we just lost you.
Oh, I think my headset
Oh,
cut out there for a second.
yeah.
Sorry. But you could be killed by rats. You could be killed by players. You could be yeeted into oblivion. Like you have no idea. And
Yeah.
then probably lastly, like the fear of making mistakes. I think
Mm,
people struggle to come back from things that are supposed to be fulfilling. Like games should be fulfilling and they should be fun and they shouldn't be making you feel um, like overly bad, if you
yeah.
will. And so, if people are afraid that they're going to make a mistake or let the team down or do something wrong, then that might be another hesitation for them.
Do you have any ideas that of how to overcome the decision paralysis or the overwhelming feeling of there's so much to do, I don't know what to do?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest answer to that is just join a corp, right? Because then you can actually talk to people, be like, "Hey, what did we do yesterday? What should we do today?" I think the players that really suffer from this are those that have yet to find a group,
Mm,
and that's that's the ones that are kind of like, I don't know what to do. Um, I like to tell folks like, hey, just, don't be afraid to try something out. It doesn't have to be optimal. Like I mined an asteroid belt in HiSec in a roke one time, and that was hilarious. It was 2010, but it was still funny. Like I found out that mining wasn't for me. Like I was like, I want to let the people who are good at that do that. So like finding a way to just like have fun, like sometimes just embracing the meme and just doing it can be all you need to do.
What role do you think fleets play in just average player retention?
It depends on the content and it depends on the player, but I think fleets are like kind of the core of interaction with your community and with space, like with the Eve community and with the Eve universe. The having someone to give you advice, having someone to maybe link a fit or provide a skill plan, like all of that comes from the collaboration that you get within like your fleets, your corps, your communities, and it's pretty critical to have that in my opinion, for new players and for people looking to kind of like get out there.
What tools or features do you think still need to be added into the game or improved on in order to help communities provide content to their players?
Um, Man, it's a good question. So, like, obviously, like being the wormhole representative, my thoughts immediately go to wormhole space, and I'm like, what would be beneficial and for us to improve on a wormhole space? Um, the first thing that comes to mind is like, well, if we want to provide content, we should have content generators. Like that's the whole point of them to get people in space. And I don't know that there are enough content generators that currently exist
Yeah.
within wormhole space, like they do in other areas of space.
Yeah.
Um, and it's hard to kind of like that's a really hard balancing act to do, and I don't envy CCP for having to go through that thought process every time they introduce something. But um, I think that's number one, right? Like you have to have varying degrees and levels of content generators so people have something that they can like strive to. Like, oh, we got 5 people today, let's do a small thing. Oh, we have 20 people today, let's do something a little bit bigger. Um, and that's where I've been getting like a lot of feedback from the folks at Wormhole UN and being like, okay, yeah, this would like perfectly fit the bill. This is where I would go if I had this amount of people and I wanted to do this thing. Um, so I guess in a way, and a long-winded way of saying like, I would want to have new content generators, new conflict drivers that more focus on like the medium scale or medium type of conflict that
Right.
don't require someone to get evicted.
Yeah, I
And then
think
bookmarks would help
yeah.
with content generation.
Yeah.
Bookmarks, don't forget those.
Yeah, totally agree. The Warm Life peeps have made me promise that if I get on, I will hound on the bookmarks as well. So,
It's surprising, like, and obviously, like, we're all biased, right? Like with wormholers, we're all biased, but it's surprising when you talk to other folks on the CSM, like, it's not a one-off thing.
no.
Like, people in K-Space also want more bookmarks. Like,
Yeah.
it's it's a sort of thing where I continue to seek to understand how we can make it a reality while also understanding that bookmarks are not the entirety of EVE Online, so we have to balance the priorities. But I just want to be the a squeaky wheel up to the point of being too annoying, right? Like you have
Yep.
to find that balance.
Well, bookmarks make life so much easier.
It's our geography, right?
It,
It's those are our stargates that we get every day, and they
yep.
could disappear on a whim.
Yep. So, when we go back to talking about undocking, do you think that toxicity is still a reason why people don't undock?
Yeah, and I would probably take that like one step further, honestly. If people are being toxic, like people, we go to video games and like just games in general as an escape from the hustle and bustle, right? It's
Yeah.
something that should drive enjoyment. If you are going to something that should be driving enjoyment and you're having to deal with toxicity, the first thing you're gonna do is you're definitely not going to undock, but you're more than likely going to be logged off. You're going to say, I don't want to deal with this. This isn't fun. Why am I paying for this? Paying to be around toxic people? No, thank you. Like, not going to waste my money on that, right? So I definitely think it plays a role for sure.
What kind of content do you think keeps players in general logging in?
I love this question because it's like the world, right? It's the sort of thing where whatever content you find enjoyable is going to be the sort of stuff that keeps you logging in. For me, that's exploration. That's like doing roams. Maybe it's some blops. Maybe it's like a big brawl. Maybe it's a little skirmish. Like the PvP side of things is what keeps me logging in. Um, I like for others, it's being able to provide the industrial backbone or like the logistics in order to keep an alliance afloat. Like that's where how they feel fulfilled. So I think it's just finding that thing that makes you feel fulfilled and like drives that enjoyment from the game that keeps you logging in day after day.
So CCP put a lot of time in the daily opportunities. Do you think that this is a reason that people are logging in, or do you think it's just one of those annoying thing people feel like they're obligated to do?
Gotta grind those dailies, man. That's 500 SP just laying on the ground right there. Why don't you gotta jump that wormhole. You gotta kill those rats. Um, it's not something that I've particularly noticed as a driver to keep me logged in. Like I wouldn't stop logging in if those opportunities weren't present, but it's like a nice to have thing, and it certainly has more impact, I would think, on a newer player because you get certain benefits that are typically reserved for those who have more money. And that,
Yeah.
of course, that's like the ISP benefit, the SP benefit. And then if you do it enough times, you get that big bonus at the end where it's like, oh, well, you logged in, 28 out of 30 days, you get
Yeah.
the big injector worth of SP or whatever. Like that's definitely a nice benefit.
Now, you mentioned that you do exploration. I've been approached by several people since I threw my candidacy out who are pretty dissatisfied with the current state of exploration. They aren't very wild about this new patch. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm curious because this is something that's actually come up in a few conversations. Is it the salvage related Explo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, no surprise there. I think I actually talked about this with Oz on one of his podcasts last month when we were going over the MER. Um, I'd have to find the timestamp, but yeah, it's definitely had an impact on Explo, and it's it's something. Well, I mean, it'll have to be tuned, right? Like just like everything else, when it comes out, usually it's somewhere in the middle of the original idea and the revision. Is that sweet spot in the middle. I think it's just something that will need to be. We'll have to get data on it and then be able to use that data to make a educated decision on how that should be balanced.
So we can
I'm,
imagine that CCP is watching this at the moment. And when we talk about solo players, how would you encourage solo players to get involved with group activity?
yeah, I think so. I mean, having like NPSI communities is really good, a good place to start. But I also want to comment that I think solo players are like there is a certain type of play style that I like in solo players, and that they try to do a lot on their own. Like the guy who went from a Velator or a Reaper to a
Mm-hmm.
Cinnaball, right? And he's like, I'm gonna do it all by myself, right? It's a really cool idea. And then, funnily enough, despite his wanting to do it solo, he engaged with the community,
Yeah.
right? He was out there posting his progress. There were people out there like cheering him on, like, you got this, man, you could do it. It was really cool to see. um, so I think just like getting out there, getting involved with the MPSI communities is a great way to start with group activities. I would say that the Corp Recruitment Center is also a good place to start, but I don't think that that's in a good enough state to be something that I would actually recommend
Yeah.
to a new player. So I would be more inclined to put them towards something like Eve Jobs or something like that, and let them engage that way.
Do you think CCP should put more solo content in the game?
Uh, yeah, okay, yes, but caveat. You can put in cool solo content, but it can't be the sort of thing that's going to be able to get like massively multi-boxed, because then it just becomes another farm, right?
Right.
Good luck balancing that, because I don't think that we could realistically do something like that, but it would be cool. I wouldn't mind a few more solo opportunities, especially if they led to things that would encourage people to like head towards group activities, or head towards like, all right, now like grab a friend, or like maybe you get like an AI Logi buddy, right? As like a fake friend for your solo fleet, and you're like, oh, I could actually like have someone like join. I should go look for people, like real people, not rely on the AI, but like have real people come and join my fleet or whatever, and then see the impact of how that compounds as you get more and more people in fleet.
Okay, we're gonna have to take a quick break. One of the things that I have for my setup is I got a job and they're forcing me to use a Mac, so I have a KVM to switch between my regular rig and that, and it's been screwing with me lately. It just decided to black everything out, so I am totally frozen, and
Oh gosh, okay.
I had the stupidest look on my face at the moment.
A few moments later.
Okay, so last question in this particular set. Uh, and I know that by now you probably have a lot of them and you can't say bookmarks again.
Aw,
If you could ask CCP for one quality of life change, what would it be that's not bookmarks?
it's not bookmarks. I don't know. We addressed so much quality of life and UI stuff in the last in the last patch. So maybe actually, you know what? There is one outstanding thing that got brought up that's been persistent for the last like month or so, maybe 6 weeks. The You know how the under the accessibility options you have like the colorblind toggle?
Yes.
For whatever reason, with the change that was made to wormholes back when that original patch came out, the cosmic signatures, when you're looking at them through the system map, do not show up if you experience certain types of color blindness. So that to me is a huge quality of life change, and something that I would hope could be fixed pretty easily. So I would probably put that. If I'm not allowed to say bookmarks, I'd probably put that.
That is more than accessible. Or more than. Actually, it is accessible. That's more than acceptable. Talk about
So
a Freudian
it's
slip
both.
there. I know someone who would be absolutely overjoyed if they fixed that.
Yeah, yeah. We got to get that fixed. It seems like the sort of thing where a couple filters here and there and easy.
You would think. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit. I know this is an odd question for the CSM campaign, but I'm very curious about people's answer. You, of course, know about the summer campaign that went on in Provi this year, right?
I heard about it, but I will be totally honest with you. I did not follow it very closely,
Okay, so
but I
basically,
but I did hear about it.
the Greater Eve community took exception against a certain alliance that is known to be very toxic, and they basically have evicted them out of Providence. What are your feelings on this particular movement with the Greater Eve community? Do you think it was a good thing, a bad thing, indifferent?
I guess my opinion is, as long as people are engaging the folks that they have grievances ways in an acceptable way within the like Eve online universe, and within a that are following like the EULA terms of service, like as long basically as long as they're not cheating or doing anything like IRL, then I think you should be able to air your grievances. We've had that sort of thing exist in wormhole space for ages, where it's like, well, I don't like the fact that they called my whatever, like it, and so I'm going to band together with all my friends. We're going to take your stuff. I think that that's like the sometimes the epitome of like war-driven economies, right?
Yep.
So yeah, as long as it's all like on the up and up, and there's not someone out there threatening people IRL or doing things that are against EULA terms of service, violating laws, things like that. then like, yeah, go fight when. Like if you want to air your grievances, do it with as many people as you want.
Cool. Now we're going to get into my favorite part of the interview, and we're going to talk about the CSM, which you should be
Oh
an expert
boy.
on by now.
An expert. Oh boy.
So, like to reiterate, you were on CSM19. Who did you work with the most, both as with your fellow CSM and with CCP, if you don't mind saying?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's fine to say. I just can't tell you what they said, right?
Yeah.
As you and I are both now experts on the NDA, as being parts of CSM in the past. Um, within CSM, I would say I most closely worked with Young Puke, Young Puke the Second, as we like to call him, Mr. Young Puke the Second. I worked with Dujek. I worked with Drake. Those are like probably like the folks that I work most closely with on CSM. Also, like Seto, worked with Seto very closely as well. Like especially over the CSM Summit, I feel like a lot of us worked very collaboratively during that, which was great. And then at CCP, I don't know, like throw a dart at a wall, and I've probably worked with them in a close capacity. CCP Jotun, obviously, because he is my homie. Forever Heart, CCP Jotun, CCP Rampant. The thing is I can't remember all of their CCP names.
Yeah.
CCP Okami.
For
Um,
for those of you that are watching this, it is a very weird kind of culture. When you become CSM, you're actually kind of sorta employee. So we all work on first name basis. So half the time we don't even know what their CCP names are. Half the time I don't think they
yeah,
even know what their own CCP name is.
that's run into that a few times. But yeah, like CCP Kestrel, CCP Swift, CCP Zealous, like that. There's just a lot of. There is no one at CCP that is inaccessible.
Yep.
Maybe Elmar, but even then, like you see him, you know, you'll still interact with him. It just may
Yep.
not be as accessible. So it's like, yeah, there's lots of opportunity, and there's a lot of desire too from
Yeah.
CCP to like get feedback. So.
If you make it back onto the CSM, what other candidate types do you think are needed? If you look at what CSM20 was, what was missing?
We missed a high sec rep. That was it, as far as I can tell. Like we missed a Nubro focused high sec rep type focused person. Um, we had all other areas of space and all different types of playstyles covered. But I do want to take this opportunity to give a big shout out to Dujek. Dujek kind of because of he's in Brave Newbies, he has a lot of exposure to new players, and to me, a lot of the ideas that he presented felt like they were very comprehensive whenever they were new bro focused. And so I thought he did a really good job with that, especially with us not having like a dedicated high sec or new bro focused person. So shout out to Dujek. You did a really great job with that. Very proud of that. Um, and I think that was it. I think that was the only thing missing.
Did you feel that any area of Eve was overrepresented?
Well, I mean, statistically, if you look at the if you look at the layout, maybe nullsec was, but I would be curious to know if nullsec was proportionally represented based on the number of players in the areas of space, because then it may actually be a proportional change. Um, but I don't know like all the numbers on that. But
Right.
obviously we had more nullsec block type representatives than we did anybody else. So the likelihood of them being overrepresented is the highest possible case.
Now, of course, during CSM18, I didn't feel that nullsec was overrepresented because obviously this was the nullsec expansion that was going out more or less. So, if anything, I felt it was slightly underrepresented. Because, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot else that went with it. So I think a lot of times it also depends on what CCP is going to work with, on the feelings, if it's, what's overrepresented or underrepresented.
Yeah, for sure. And it would not surprise me if that was part of their driving decision when it came to how are we going to use like our two
Yeah.
picks, right? Because if they feel like they need to tilt the scales a little bit, then they can certainly do that to make sure that those areas are repped.
So, I just saw something last night that could be very interesting. There is a couple industry and market representatives that are coming in, and it's possible that all three get on the CSM. Do you think that suddenly now that's going to be overrepresented if they do?
Industry and market folks, uh,
Yeah, if we get
I,
Kenneth, Angry, and Oz all on the CSM at once again.
having worked with Kenneth and Oz, I wouldn't say that they were necessarily overlapping in terms of their expertise. I felt like their expertise was very unique, so I wouldn't think so. No.
Okay. Where are we? What has been your approach to demonstrating player support for different issues, especially if it's decisive?
So uh, I think that's one of the big reasons why I created Wormhole UN. Because I wanted to get as many different types of groups in there to just say like, all right, let's talk about what you like. Post a thread. What's your complaint? What issues are you having? Uh, and then using that as a feedback loop essentially for CCP, saying like, hey, we've had this come up. This is like the fifth thread we've had on it, or this thread is over 2,000 messages long. We should probably take a look at something on it. And then using that as a basis of going to CCP and saying, hey, let's chat about this. What are your thoughts here, right? Um, and then of course we also have the poll system that we use for Discord threads where you can put polls out, have people emoji react, and kind of get a general feel like, is this a good idea, bad idea? Are there things you would change? And then use that thread to discuss it.
Do you think more CSM candidates should do something like this? Poll their community, create, a Discord to try to get as many people in there to give their opinions, you know, some way, because CCP tends to really like that data and numbers.
That's why I made it. I think that if you are a CSM and you have the ability to host something like that to get feedback, then it's absolutely worth it. Probably easily over half of the attention that we got to wormholes this year was because of direct feedback received from the player base, from the Wormhole UN community. And surprisingly, they were, you know, very receptive and very respectful of everyone, and allowed there to be basically healthy challenge on feedback
Mm-hmm.
and ideas, which was really, it brought a single tear to my eye. It was beautiful. um, so yeah, if you're considering CSM, especially if you get on CSM, I highly recommend having some kind of way to get feedback, and use that as kind of your data points for whenever you're pitching fixes or ideas to CCP.
So now you can't tell us what it was, but without a doubt, there was probably a few issues that were brought up that you didn't agree with.
Y-
Yeah.
yes.
um, how did you handle that, whether it came from fellow CSM or from CCP?
A lot of the time we would just chat it out. A lot of the times these disagreements or misunderstandings come from just not understanding the other person's perspective. And so I would just sit down and say, okay, walk me through it. Like I'm in your alliance now, right? This is my day to day. How does this impact me? And then just taking that time to have the perspective shift does wonders for being able to understand why something that you would think wouldn't have an impact on the overall game design or gameplay would at a certain scale or in a certain area of space, or affecting a certain number of people running a X number of members in fleet type thing. Like, okay, it may not be a big deal small scale, but multiply it now to where there's 1,500 of them, and that becomes a problem, right? So it's like just taking that time to get the perspective change. And then if for whatever reason that division, like we still didn't agree, a lot of times we would just agree to disagree, or see if there was a way we could come to a compromise,
Yes.
right? As long as we just took the time to respect and understand each other's opinions and perspectives, then we would be in a great spot. And I have to give a huge shout out to like everyone on CSM19, because they like, especially like throughout the year and at Summit throughout the year, there are times where we're all in agreement on something, or times when we're half and half or whatever. Regardless of whatever the split was in the room, people always took the time to understand everyone's perspective and were very respectful of it.
Oh, that's excellent to hear. And speaking of one of these problems that people disagreed with, projection. This has been a problem probably for the past 3, 4, maybe even 5 CSMs. Do you think, considering the what was implemented this year, is projection solved, or is CSM20 going to still have to work on it?
CSM30 is still going to have to work on projection if I had to guess.
Oh.
No, it is not solved. There were some steps that were taken, and they were, good starting points, but I think overall projection still remains a very large issue in Eve, and it's probably the single most difficult balancing question that has persisted for as long as it has in the history of the game. If I had to guess,
Yeah, I
it
agree.
wouldn't surprise me.
Now, second to last question. What question do you think should be asked of CSM candidates, but never gets asked in these interviews?
Ooh, that's such a good one. I think the biggest question I would ask is, what is your measure? Like, what is the candidate's measure of success for if you're elected to CSM? How do you know that
That's a
you're
good one.
doing a good job or that you've done a good job? That would probably be the question I'd ask.
Awesome. You guys are coming up with such good questions, I have to say. You'll have to
It's a
tune into
thought-provoking one. I like it.
you'll have to tune into Dujex and who else did I interview? And Oz's to see what they said. And
Nice.
finally, what is still unfinished that you started during the CSM period?
So much. So so much. Um, I don't want to like go into a long-winded description here, but there's a lot, right? Like the whole idea was, we're going to take the work that we've done and the interviews that I did prior to getting elected last year and use that as a starting point, right? There's a ton of feedback there, mainly bookmarks. Obviously, it's probably like the biggest one, blah, blah, blah. And then content drivers and finding ways to bring people into wormhole space, whether it's like specific resources, whatever it is, some kind of specific content. Um, and so we're doing that again this year, and I'm continuing to meet with groups. I've met with 5 so far, trying to get that number up to 30. So if your group hasn't reached out to me yet, please do so we get some time set up. But yeah, I basically just want to continue with the ideas that we had from last year. We did great work in bug fixes, UI, UX, and quality of life. So let's take that baseline and now elevate it to the new level, the new ideas of content that we can start introducing into wormhole space.
Cool. So, finally, why should players vote for you? And why should my community's Warm Life and Eve Rookies put you on our ballot?
Um, Honestly, if you think that I did a good job last year, then vote for me again this year because the formula is not going to change. I'm going to continue to keep the open feedback loop. I'll continue to be available to all those who have questions or concerns that they need to voice, that they want to be brought forward to CCP and to other CSM. And I'll and honestly, just it basically ball don't lie. So if you think that the scoreboard looks better now than it did last year, then that is my entire selling point.
Awesome. So, where can people find you if they want to hit you up about talking to their groups, or just they have an issue with you, or they want to show their support for bookmarks?
Yes, we'll take all the bookmarks. Yo, what if we had a bookmark item on the forums, and then if it got over like 500 likes, then that was like the mandatory. Oh, we can't do any more than 500 because that's the limit. Um, all right, just brain spewing right now, but yeah, you can you can reach me at Discord. It's my name, Mick Fightmaster, all one word. You can reach me on Discord. Forums are great. In the forum post is access to the Wormhole UN Discord link. Please join it. If you would like to set up some time with me, just DM me and I will give you a slot of available times that I have. I've been meeting with folks that are AUTZ. I've been meeting with folks that are West Coast, EU time zone. So if with enough heads up, I can make the time to get a chance to chat with you.
Cool. And do you answer your email?
I do. Yes. Yes. It's probably the least effective way, but it is still an effective way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us again. As last year, it was a real pleasure, and best of luck with your campaign.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me.